on the mic.
Get on the mic.
Just get on the mic. Get on the mic, Mike.
Hey everybody, what's going on? And welcome to Get on the Mic. This is a segment that's basically just me sitting in front of a microphone with a few notes, talking about some things that happened during the week that I found interesting and felt like talking about. Some of the things we're going to be talking about today is 20th Century Fox possibly selling to Disney. We're also going to be talking about the fact that there's going to be a new Star Wars trilogy and a few other Star Wars notes. Plus, we're going to be talking about sexual harassment in Hollywood and whatever else that comes up and I feel like talking about. First things first, 20th Century Fox might be possibly selling most of its assets to Disney. You know, the implications of this is outstanding. We'll talk about a few of those in a bit, but a few of the facts of it are this. We don't know what's going on. We've had reports that it could be happening. We've had reports that it's dead in the water already. Until I hear anything from Disney or Fox, I'm just going to speculate, and I'm going to leave it at that. Basically, what it boiled down to is that Fox would be selling most of its assets to Disney, but there would be no Fox broadcast network because Disney already owns ABC, and they couldn't own two. Next is no Fox Sports because Disney already has ESPN. Again, conflict of interest. And then plus there'd be no Fox News or business channels. What Disney would get in the deal, at least that they're working on, is that they would get networks, cable networks such as National Geographic and FX. And so I would assume the shows that are on those would fall under that line. I'm not a business guy. I'm just speculating here. The fact that this is even coming up, most of us as fans, especially of, say, the Marvel movies, know this. The best get is the movie studio and its properties, mainly because Fox has the rights to some of the Marvel properties that were sold years ago. And of course, you know, that includes X-Men, which is any X franchise, including not just the X-Men, but Deadpool and Wolverine as well, which we'll talk about Deadpool in a minute. Next, the Marvel or Disney would be getting the Fantastic Four back, which we all know, considering the fact that the first Fantastic Four movie, and I'm not talking about the one that made it to theaters, I'm talking about the one you have to scour YouTube for, considering the fact that's probably still the best, arguably the best Fantastic Four movie, and the fact they had 3 more tries, and there's things I like about the 3, not much I like about the newest one, but the fact that they haven't been able to just nail it with Fantastic Four, people have been clamoring for Marvel to get Fantastic Four back pretty much since Iron Man came out. Do I think this is going to happen? Honestly, I don't know. I want to say yes. I've given it a lot of thought, and I know there's some implications here, and there's some problems with it, which we'll talk about a few of them here in a second. But for the sheer fact that, I mean, look what Disney and Marvel did with just what little bit they've done with Spider-Man since being able to use Spider-Man. Now, granted, they didn't get the property fully back from Sony, but at least they got a chance to work with the character. And look what they've done. I can't say they've erased the bad movies. I mean, I'm not going to knock all the Spider-Man movies. I mean, I enjoy the first one. I like the second one. The third one, while there's a couple things I like about it, I mean, come on, let's face it, the third movie just isn't that good. Amazing Spider-Man, I had hope in, but then the second one came out and it just erased any little bit of hope that I had for that, you know, rebooted franchise. And then of course Sony got panicked and, you know, we gotta make a deal here. Now, do I think it's going to happen? I don't know. And I think deep down, I think I do want it to happen because I'd like to see what Marvel could do. But what do I think would happen? I'm going to speculate. Here's some things I think are going to happen if Marvel gets a chance to get these characters, and at least whether or not they sell out to Disney or they make a deal with Disney, such as Sony did for Spider-Man. here's some things that I think are going to happen, but I'm speculating right now mostly if Fox sold out, because it gets a little more complicated if they just make deals, because they will probably just make deals for individual properties. Well, you can't have Deadpool and you can't have X-Men, but here's Fantastic Four, kind of like that. I'm not gonna speculate with that stuff right now. I'm just gonna speculate if Fox sold out. Here's some things I think that might happen. First things that's gonna happen, and I can almost guarantee this, there's one of two things that might happen. The other one I'll talk about at the end, but the first thing I think would definitely happen, because this actor has been pining for years to be in an Avengers movie. I think Hugh Jackman will return as Wolverine in an Avengers movie or two. I don't think it'd just be one movie, because what's the point? I think if Hugh Jackman was going to take the time to get in the shape to be Wolverine again, I mean, granted, he didn't have to, he got into shape for Logan, don't get me wrong, but he had to get into old man Logan shape, which, fantastic movie. I'm not knocking that movie. It's one of my favorite movies this year. But I think if he was going to take the time to do an Avengers movie, he wouldn't just do one. I honestly think we would at least get 2 Avengers movies out of him. If not, if they made an X-Men movie or something like that, I think that he would be involved in that as well. Or even a solo movie. That one's a little more unlikely, considering the fact I don't think you can top Logan for when it comes to Wolverine solo movies, so I don't think they would want to try. But yeah, you definitely get Hugh Jackman as Wolverine again, because it's what he's always wanted. I think he would not pass up that opportunity, so you could see Wolverine along with Iron Man, along with Captain America, and that's even if those characters survive Infinity War, because we don't know what's going to happen with that. That's a whole nother ball of wax of speculation, right? The next thing I think that would happen is the X-Men would either join the MCU or they would go the TV route. One thing about the X-Men is that there's so many different characters, there's so many different versions. It's hard to make a movie without alienating somebody. You're gonna alienate some fans because you didn't involve their favorite character. I mean, come on, people complained for years. Where's Gambit? Where's Gambit? Where's this character? Where's that character? And then some we finally got we didn't like. But I think that if they went the TV route, you could spread it out a little more. I mean, and I don't want to see it end up on, say, like Fox Network TV. I want to see it end up on an FX or an FXX or even a premium network. Could you imagine like an HBO X-Men movie? Granted, I don't think Disney would make that deal, but granted, if one thing we're going to talk about later, it could be on their streaming service. So, it would be an interesting thing to see the Wolverine be able to or the X-Men to be able to spread out a little bit and just get a chance to, and no pun intended, evolve their characters over time through a TV series. And honestly, I think that would be the way to go. Granted, here's the thing, though. I think the current cast would be done, maybe. I would think that Disney would want to kind of start anew, except for probably Hugh Jackman, as mentioned earlier. I mean, he's so iconic as Wolverine, you wouldn't want somebody else if he's willing to do it. The only ones I could see him maybe keeping would be James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender if they went the movie route. I don't think those guys would do the TV route. I don't know. That's up to them. I mean, if for a chance to work in the Marvel Universe, I mean, granted, it'd be complicated because you'd have characters such as Magneto, and we've had his kids in the movie, and they had to rewrite their histories and everything. I'm not sure how they'd handle that. That's why I think the TV route is probably a little more plausible. But if they were gonna keep anybody, you'd keep the strong ones. The 2 strongest, not counting Hugh Jackman, would be James McAvoy and Fassbender. A lot of you know on this channel that I'm not the biggest J-Law fan. I understand why people like her. I've liked her in movies. She's just not my favorite, right? So, I after that Apocalypse movie, I was ready for her to be done with the X franchise. I was in the middle for Days of Future Past. I know they made her a bigger part of that, and she was okay, and I liked her in First Class, because at the time I don't think she was quote unquote too big for that movie. And then I felt that after that she kept acting like she didn't want to be there, and then she would say, well, I owe it to the fans. And maybe that's cool if that's the case, but I'm kind of done with the Mystique character. When I think of X-Men, I want the story to be driven by characters such as Wolverine or Professor X or Magneto, guys that I read about in the comics and everything. And granted, I like the character Mystique. I just never saw Mystique as the main character, And I honestly think they wouldn't keep her. I don't believe. I mean, you never know. But like I said, we're just speculating here. Now, the big one that and even Ryan Reynolds has come out and spoke about this one, joking, saying something along the line of if Disney buys Fox, what the fudge would happen to my property, And I got to say this, I don't believe if they got Deadpool, I don't believe if Ryan Reynolds' character, if Deadpool was going to be in the MCU, I don't believe we would get any more R-rated Deadpool films. Now, a lot of people might not like that. Here's what I really think is going to happen, though. I think even if they do get the property, they are not going to add Deadpool into the MCU completely. I believe that if they get the property, they will keep him his own separate thing, kind of like they do now and with Fox, because I mean, yes, they make jokes about McAvoy and Stewart and all that, and they may link up eventually, but other than a few shared character ideas, like we had Colossus in the Deadpool movie, they didn't really connect the universes. I mean, yes, they did, but no, they didn't. I mean, I haven't seen those characters in the Deadpool movie when I had the one, so... And they may show up. I mean, they joke about Wolverine, but we never saw Wolverine in the Deadpool movie, unfortunately. So, I don't believe that they would actually put him in the MCU. One thing I think they might do is everyone is clamoring for a Spider-Man Deadpool team-up. First of all, good luck dealing with Sony. Everyone wants it, but this is one thing that is almost an impossibility to happen. I mean, we did get a pretty awesome episode of Ultimate Spider-Man where they had Deadpool, and you got a bit of a PG Deadpool, and it was a fun Deadpool. In my opinion, though I enjoyed Deadpool, I love that movie, and I love Ryan Reynolds in that movie. You can have a PG-13 Deadpool because you can make fun of it. You could bleep him out and him get mad every time he gets bleeped out, things like that. I mean, granted, if he's going to have his own solo movie, you might as well go R so it can be bloody and everything else. I'm just saying, if they really, really want to do it, it can be done. But I don't think I'd want to see him in the MCU because I think that character is too meta. Now, granted, if they wanted to go the whole route where he looked at the camera and people called him out for it and everything, I honestly, in an MCU movie, I think it'd be distracting. Say if you had it in an Avengers movie. I think Deadpool, the less characters around him, the better his shtick works. Because the more times he looks away and looks at the camera and saying, I'm talking to them, I think the more characters that point that out, the more distracting that is to the movie, the more it takes away from the movie. It almost still makes it Deadpool's movie, which, if it's his own movie, fine. Even I think maybe if it's an X-Men movie, fine. But I don't think I'd want that to distract from anything. I think that having him in his own movie, in his own universe, maybe bring in some guest stars from, say, a new X franchise. whoever they get to play the characters, bring them into Deadpool's movie, bring them into his world, so he can do his own thing, and then they have to kind of, they have to live by his rules. Because the cool thing about a Deadpool movie, especially the Deadpool movie, it almost felt like it was in Deadpool's universe, like it's in his head. So, the people had to live in his world, and I like that. I don't like him having to try to fit into everything else because it could just be distracting. So yeah, I don't think they would do that. I think it would be better if Disney got it, let it stay what it is. I think, I know Disney, Disney doesn't have to put their name on it. All they got to do is, if they have the Fox property, still put the Fox property on it. Just say, well, from Fox does the R-rated stuff, and we do the, the Disney stuff. So, that I think is what they would do with Deadpool. That would be the smart thing to do with Deadpool. And of course, finally, the most 100% thing that would happen if Disney got Fox would be that Fantastic Four would be joining the MCU. They would be the guaranteed property that would come into the movies, and it would be, they would get their own movie, then they would be part of the Avengers movies, even though they're not Avengers per se, and we would get Galactus, real Galactus, not fart cloud Galactus from Rise of the Silver Surfer, which, God bless you, Doug Jones, I love you. I thought you did great mocap for Silver Surfer. And I love Lawrence Fishburne. I don't know why they had to put his voice in there. That's another story. I love Doug Jones, but the fact that movie turned Galactus into, hey, here's a cloud. And then, the Green Lantern in a way kind of copied it, which they must have said, hey, I like that idea. Let's do that. Yeah, there's no doubt in my mind that Fantastic Four would definitely be the one property besides Wolverine that would become part of the MCU. Lastly, I think that the big thing that would happen if Disney bought up Fox would be we'd finally get those untouched Star Wars on Blu-ray, DVD, and on demand or on digital. It's almost a gimme. I mean, that is the big caveat on why we haven't I know everyone's thought that, George Lucas said, no, you can never have it. Well, he doesn't have any say anymore. And, it's 20th Century Fox that has the rights to the untouched movies. And I think that Disney would not hesitate to milk that cash cow. They would instantly, I think that would be the first announcement that would come out if they were to buy Fox, is they would say, by the way, here's Star Wars, hooray, hooray, give us money. So yeah, those are the things that I think would happen, or at least some thoughts about what I think would happen if Disney were to buy up Fox. Some other big Star Wars news came out this week. Rian Johnson is developing a new Star Wars trilogy for Disney. The cool thing about this is that it's not part of the Skywalker saga, so I don't even think it's going to deal with Rey, Finn, Poe, Kylo. I have a feeling, I got a few hunches on what I think it might be, and I don't want to speculate too much because all they've announced is that he's doing a new trilogy and that it's going to be a part of the Star Wars universe that we haven't really touched on before. Now, I think they just mean movies. I don't believe they mean games, and the reason I say that is because I have a feeling that they're going to give Rian Johnson Knights of the Old Republic. That is a franchise or a part of the Star Wars mythos that fans have been clamoring for years, especially since those games. I never really had a chance to play the games very much, but I liked what I played, and I know the fans love them. So that's my big guess on what he's going to get to do is they're going to set up some mythology for the past for Star Wars. Another idea is that we might be getting a Bounty Hunters movie, and I'm not talking a Boba Fett movie, I know that they were going to be doing a show or a game called, it was like 1616 or something like that, which is, I think it was supposed to be kind of a young Boba Fett game, was apparently what it was supposed to be. I can't really remember, but it was basically like a bounty hunter game. And I think we're going to be getting that in TV form, which honestly is a pretty cool idea. If they did something like a young Boba Fett show, I could imagine them getting Daniel Logan to play him. I mean, why not? Right? I mean, he voiced him for Rebels or for Clone Wars, one of the two. I can't remember which one it was. I guess it would have been Clone Wars because he would have been younger. I could see them doing something like that. But yeah, like I said, it's not part of the Skywalker saga, so we're getting something completely new. And one thing that this tells me, though, that they're willing to give the Star Wars, or the keys to the Star Wars Ferrari or whatever fancy car, the Star Wars X-Wing or the Cadillac, whatever kind of car, they're willing to give Rian Johnson the keys. And that tells me one thing, and it tells me that The Last Jedi must have impressed him, because if they're willing to give him a 3-movie deal for a new trilogy, he must have said, I have an idea, and they like The Last Jedi so much that they are willing to give it to him. And I like that. That gives me a little bit of confidence. Now, granted, Last Jedi might suck. What little bit I've seen trailer-wise, I like. I mean, they're trying a lot of bait-and-switch tactics with it, but I think that what I've seen, I have a feeling it's at least going to be good. I don't know. Lastly, when it comes to Disney, they keep talking about this new Disney streaming service, and I was a little on the edge about it. I mean, I understand people wanting to get away from Netflix because Netflix has become such a big thing, and don't get me wrong, I love Netflix. Those of you know on this channel, I love the Marvel shows and a few other things on there. And I'll tell you, I love Netflix because, man, I don't have to buy a ton of kids DVDs anymore. They got so many shows on there and stuff. I mean, it saves me a bundle on DVDs and things like that for my boys. But I have a feeling I'm going to be buying the Disney streaming service when it comes out. The reason this is because Disney also announced, along with the Rian Johnson announcement, is that on their streaming service, there's going to be a new Star Wars live-action TV show. This could be the lost idea of the live-action TV show they were going to do a while back. It could be a brand new thing. I don't know. I don't care. I love Star Wars. So if they are going to give me something like that, I'm probably going to get it. I consider getting it anyway because there's a lot of Disney properties I like, plus all the Marvel stuff and Star Wars stuff was going to be on their streaming service. And, I know it's getting a little separated. Everyone liked the convenience of Netflix, but after the success of HBO doing their own thing, Amazon's trying to do their own thing. They have a few successes. All the networks are going to want their own thing, I think. Or at least the companies, and Disney, of course, would be the forerunner for that. And I think that, the way they're going to get people to get it, I mean, yeah, they can offer all the classic stuff they want, and people will go for it. I probably would too. A streaming service where I could watch, Lion King or Aladdin, or, I could watch the entire Phineas and Ferb series or things like that anytime I want. I love that idea. But the thing that really hits the nail on the head is, and we're going to give you new content of things you love. Another thing I think they may try is another Young Indiana Jones series. That's just speculation because they haven't said anything about that. That's just an idea I had pop up in my head. But a new Star Wars series, I mean, especially if they offer it not weekly, but kind of like they do with Netflix, where they just give it all to you, where you can just sit down and chill and watch a whole season. I like that idea, and so at the moment, until I start seeing things that bother me about it, I'm sold on the idea of the Disney streaming service now. Because Because if they're going to do that for Star Wars, who knows what else they might do it for. I'd love to see him try to do a TV series for Tron. I mean, I know they've had like the cartoon and, the movies, the first one's a classic. I'm a little iffy on the new one or the newest one. But, I'd like to see him try something like that. There's just so many ideas that you could have there. And, of course, you can have new ideas, too. I just like that idea that they're going to give, people, new stories. And it doesn't have to all be movies. That's another thing about that. As much as I love Star Wars, the idea of everything getting a movie kind of bothered me because, I mean, how many Marvel movies do we have now? Like 17, which granted, it's been a great ride, but, it's going to get to a point where, I'm clamoring for smaller stories for Marvel. That's why of course I'm excited for Punisher next week. I mean, also I'm a big Punisher fan, but it's the fact that I like these individualized stories and I like the team ups. I don't want to, as much as I love the Avengers movie, I'm ready for smaller things. When Thanos is done, unless they get like Wolverine or whatever, where you can make it, more special, I'd rather see the smaller stuff. So other than that, there's no real details on the Star Wars TV show or anything. I don't know what they're going to go for. I'm willing to bet that it's not going to be involved with anything in the movies. It's going to be its own thing. Who knows? I'm looking forward to hearing information on it. Last Star Wars bit of news. I want to talk about Jar Binks. Okay. Everyone has their problems with Jar Binks, and I do as well. But I'm going to do something I never thought I would do. I'm going to defend Jar Binks here on this program. I read a story, and I don't have it in front of me, so this is just what I can remember from it. It basically talks about, there's a book out there, and it talks about in it the fate of Jar Binks. And I had a problem with it. During the Force Unleashed games, I believe it was in the second one, there was a kind of an in-joke where Jar Binks was stuck in carbonite, right? And everyone thought it was funny. I thought it was funny. But the reason I was okay with that is it's like, well, Jar, he just got, I never thought of it as that's his final fate. I always just thought of it as like, Jar, he's in another, wacky situation again. Because ultimately, after the Phantom Menace, I mean, Jar had his parts in episodes 2 and 3, but I mean, he was minimalized in both those movies. And as we know, the character it was his fault that the Emperor got power because he convinced the Senate to do the whole vote. Now, that is a mistake. I mean, Jar Binks, he was manipulated into giving the Emperor power. I mean, they tricked him, right? He's not a very smart character, and they tricked him. And at the time when that happened, I thought, yeah, that's justice. That character messed up everything. Well, after seeing what they did with him in Clone Wars, I'm not saying he was still a perfect character, but his character in Clone Wars was a lot less annoying. And I still joke about Jar Binks because, I mean, we still have episode 1. But, and like my kids have Disney Infinity, and I made an arena kind of thing where you fight a bunch of bad guys. Well, I just got a Jar run around because if he gets caught in the crossfire, he just kind of goes flying around. But, when it comes to Star Wars characters, I don't know what it is. I don't want to see any character fail, I guess. I mean, the prequels wasted so many different characters. They the characters didn't live up to their potential. I mean, thank God for the Clone Wars and for Rebels for letting Darth Maul be important. I mean, Jango Fett. I mean, they wasted him. I mean, he lasted a movie. He's supposed to be the whole blueprint for the original Stormtroopers, and he didn't do much. You know, he got punked out by Mace Windu, right? And he's people love that guy. And my thing with Jar Jar is I get that people don't like the character, but the way his story ends, I guess he's shunned by his own people. He's shunned by Naboo, and he's forced to live on the street as a street performer. People don't mention his name. They don't talk to him. They don't come see him. He lives this horrible life of solitude and loneliness. And here's my thing. From a fan standpoint, nobody should want to see any character end up like that in the Star Wars universe, especially a character that, yes, he flopped around a battlefield, got a gun stuck to his leg, and shot bad guys, but he fought. And he helped the good guys win the day, right? And the only reason he's shunned is because he's in an annoying movie. And when it comes to the characters in the story itself, why is he shunned for making a mistake? A not very smart character, who's not intelligent. He's easily manipulated. Why is he shunned? And I'm playing devil's advocate here. Why is he shunned? But Darth Vader rules the galaxy, or at least helps rule over the galaxy, with an iron fist or robot fist, whatever you want to say, for almost 20 years. Does one good deed. Granted, it's a big good deed where he kills the Emperor. He does one good deed, and he's seen as a hero. Jar Jar made one mistake, and he's shunned for the rest of his life. I didn't get that. It made me sad because Star Wars to me is all about redemption, making mistakes and fixing them, making mistakes or becoming the hero you're supposed to be after making a mistake. I mean, you got characters that make mistakes all the time. Well, Lando got Han captured. Granted, yes, they got him back, but he got Han captured. Why was he forgiven? I think the whole wanting to write off Jar Jar thing just doesn't make any sense to me. If any character in the Star Wars universe deserved forgiveness and deserved a chance to redeem themselves, it was Jar Jar Binks. I think that they should have let Jar Jar Binks, in some story, they should have let him redeem himself. It could have been something simple as saving someone's life or something like that. It didn't have to be, he flew a starship and somehow destroyed the entire robot army, Anakin Skywalker. It could have been he just saved someone on the street from, like Imperial injustice. He saved a kid from, getting killed or something. He sacrificed himself, and then someone said, "Who's that?" Well, that's Jar Jar Binks. I'm not saying you'd label him as a hero, and give him statues, but Star Wars is all about redeeming yourself. I mean, who knows where they're going with The Last Jedi, but who knows if Luke has, stuff to answer for. I think he does. I have a feeling he does. And yes, he fought the entire time, but Luke made mistakes too. He made mistakes, and we're going to find out what those mistakes are in The Last Jedi. Well, I don't know. I think this article just bothered me that, yes, for the longest time as a Star Wars fan, I wanted to nail Jar Jar to a wall. But I think I was just bothered by the fact that whoever wrote this book or this story or whatever it was, I don't know what book it was from, and I apologize. I just think that Jar Jar deserved a little better, because it's a Star Wars universe and it's all about redeeming yourself and all about forgiveness and, fighting the dark side for the light. And he's being punished because he was annoying and like really annoying in one movie. I don't know. That just bothered me. Now we're going to be talking about something a little more serious. This whole sexual abuse thing in Hollywood is ridiculous right now. And, I don't know how updated my notes are going to be, because I change my notes for this just about every day this week because new stuff keeps happening. What is going on in Hollywood? Now, granted, I think deep down a lot of us knew this stuff was going on in Hollywood. But it's coming to the forefront, and I don't know, if the straw just broke the camel's back, with the whole Harvey Weinstein thing, or did it start with Bill Cosby? I don't know. But, I mean, I may miss some things here because, like I said, the story just keeps getting updated, and I don't have everything here. But, first, I mean, there's the Kevin Spacey stuff. I mean, getting accused of trying to, mess with someone when he was 14. The actor Anthony Rapp from Star Trek Discovery. Rapp was only 14, and, 2 more, I guess, have come forward, and I don't know if there's an update to that story. The Harvey Weinstein saga. I mean, what hasn't already been said about this? I mean, when it comes to Harvey Weinstein, just the way he conducted business, I knew he was probably a scumbag, but you just didn't know how much of one. But let's be honest. And here comes a Star Wars reference. If there was a real life Jabba the Hutt, and I'm not knocking him for his weight or anything like that, it's just the way he acts. It's not because he's a big dude. I'm a fat guy. I'm talking about just the way he acts. He just seems like he always came off as arrogant. He always came off as gluttonous for power and image. And that's just the way he always seemed to me. So I'm not really surprised that if this stuff is true, that it's happening. It doesn't surprise me one bit. Because it just adds on to what I've already kind of thought of this guy before. I mean, not saying I didn't like his movies, he produced. I mean, you gotta admit, this guy brought to the forefront a lot of things that are big now, like the fact that indie movies can play in big theaters. You got your Kevin Smiths that got their chance through Weinstein with Miramax, Quentin Tarantino. There's so many others. But the fact to me is this guy just always seemed like the epitome of running a casting couch. The fact that it's coming out that it may be true and probably is true, it's crazy. Ben Affleck coming out and condemning people, but then having his dirty laundry come out. I don't know all the facts about that one, but yeah, there's so many. That's just a few examples, and where does this end? I mean, just today, more came out about other people with Louis C.K., and he admitted it. I mean, he came right out and admitted it. I don't know if he's just trying to save face or he really feels bad. I mean, that's on him. But he came right out and said, yep, I did it. And here's why. And, he's saying he abused his power. He let that power get to him, is basically what he said. There's stories out there that you can read up on. But what I want to talk about is, how does this affect Hollywood and movies in general? Here's my thing. I hope this cleans it up a little bit. Or I guess I should say a lot. Because it's hard for me because, you know, a lot of the people that are involved in some of these things are people that I've admired for years and years and years. I mean, this whole thing with me feeling this way started with Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby, and I can't say this now, but I mean, you hope that these ugly stories about any of these people are not true, but granted, this is an ugly world, you just never know. You hope that these stories aren't true. But Bill Cosby, to me, I grew up with Bill Cosby. I would wear out Bill Cosby VHS tapes of Bill Cosby himself. I'd wear out my cassette tapes of Bill Cosby when I was a kid. And for those of you that don't understand, it started with me that, Bill Cosby was my favorite entertainer of all time. I'd seen him in concert a couple times, and it's two of the greatest nights of my life. But if he did these things, I mean, and he is denying them probably to the day he dies. And so you just never know because he's not admitting it. Like I said, we mentioned Kevin Spacey. Well, Kevin Spacey, House of Cards for him is gone. I guess they've said they're going to do a final season. He's not going to be involved. Also, this came out this week. All the Money in the World movie got pushed back. I think they were wondering if maybe this would blow over, but then more things kept happening, and they've decided to just cut him out of the movie and get the person that they originally wanted, which is Christopher Plummer. And what's, from a funny standpoint, it's probably a good thing because, well, first, they won't do any makeup on Christopher Plummer because, I'm sorry, that makeup on Kevin Spacey during them trailers looks ridiculous. But no, on a serious note, yeah, they're basically going to erase this guy from Hollywood because of the way I think he handled this whole situation, trying to not cover it up, but what's the best way to put this? Mask over the possibility that he may have assaulted someone by coming out as gay. And by the way, I'm not surprised. I've always thought he was gay. I have no issue with that, but I don't know. It's just the way he seemed to carry himself. I always thought he was. Like I said, I don't care, but I do care. It's hard for me to admire someone if they did what they're saying he did. John Bernthal was on Opie and Anthony. The Jim Norton show. I forgot Jim Norton used to work with Opie and Anthony. Jim and Sam show, and he basically said he loved Kevin Spacey until he worked with him on Baby Driver, because he said he was kind of a bully on set. And he lost all admiration for him. So, just Kevin Spacey is someone I've admired for years, ever since Usual Suspects, my favorite movie of all time. And seeing how it's affecting him is crazy. Then, speaking of Usual Suspects, there's been the Bryan Singer stuff for multiple times throughout the years. With Ben Affleck, you're wondering how this hypocrisy is going to affect any movie he's in. Especially, we have Justice League coming out next week. Will that be overlooked? I mean, with Ben Affleck, he has done something where whether or not it's, some honest, real honest feeling from his heart, or if it's just trying to cover up. Well, again, I don't know what's inside of people. You hope for the best, prepare for the worst, right? He's donating his residuals from any Weinstein-backed movie to nonprofit organizations, which, you know what? That's a good start. But I hope he's just not doing it because he got called out. I'm hoping he's doing it because, you know, he really feels this way and really feels bad. Because, man, when Weinstein got outed, he was like, well, I can't believe that I worked with someone that would do such a thing. And it's like, well, what about you? And so there was that. Here's my thing, though. What causes some people to give some people a pass and some not? Because think about it. You see that happening because it's like, well, I mean, yeah, they're calling out Affleck, but, well, are they really calling out Affleck? I mean, we're still celebrating there's Batman coming out next week. But Weinstein is the devil, all right? I mean, here's the thing. What makes us forgive these people in Hollywood? What is it? Is it the fact that did what they did hurt other people or themselves? I mean, you know, I'll bring up Robert Downey Jr. As an example. I mean, for years he had drug problems and everything else, but you know, when he got clean and sober, everyone loves the guy, and good for him. You know, I'm glad he's clean and sober. Did people easily forgive his actions because he didn't hurt anybody? But granted, he probably did kind of hurt people because the way he lived his life had to have affected other people. You know what I mean? It's hard to say, you know, why some get a pass and some don't. How does this affect the entertainment we love? You know, do the actions of one person have to ruin how, say, I feel about a movie? And I'll use Usual Suspects as an example. There's the accusations on Bryan Singer. There's the accusations on Kevin Spacey. Stephen Baldwin isn't popular with a lot of people because of his the way he is religious now. And who knows about any of the other people in that cast. But that's just 2-3 people. If you know, is that gonna, you know, negate all the work that everybody else did on that movie? And we're not just talking about the actors. We're talking about the people behind the scenes and things like that. You know, a movie's not just the people on screen. So it's hard to, you know, make me go, well, I can't watch that movie now because, you know, so-and-so did this, so-and-so did that. What about everybody else? What about everybody else that worked hard on that movie? So it's hard for me to really know how to feel about how that affects, you know, my thoughts on anything. I mean, can I not go back and watch a movie that, you know, I'll bring up Louis C.K. Louis C.K. was in such and such movie for 2 seconds. Well, can I not enjoy that movie now because he did this? I'm not going to admire what they did. That's the way I have to look at it. I'm not going to admire what they did. It doesn't mean I can't admire movies that these people are in, or shows, or whatever. I think the more singular things are, and granted, yes, say we'll use Louis C.K. as an example again. Okay, yeah, Louis C.K. might have been in this movie. I'm not gonna let that bother me. I probably won't be watching a stand-up anytime soon. I think the more they're involved in something, it's going to be harder to enjoy. It's a really touchy subject, and I'm not sure what to think about it, you know? So my thought is this. You know, we watch movies from the past, and you know there's people in these movies that have done things, especially now that all this old Hollywood attitude is coming out. Lord knows how things were. It's like the old guard is finally getting tossed out, or at least they're getting exposed for things that they did or possibly did. And you kind of hope that the best that you can hope for is that this, you know, this knocks Hollywood down a peg. You know, we put Hollywood on a pedestal, and, you know, I'm not gonna I'm not going to lie. I go to a lot of conventions and I like to meet people that are in shows and everything. It's just a hobby of mine. And there's times that I've done interviews with some of these people. I mean, I did an interview with Robert Knepper, who he's been accused of messing with someone on a movie, you know. And, you know, I've got autographs and pictures with this guy, and I've got, you know, I did an interview with him, and it's still one of my favorite interviews, but, you know, it's hard to admire someone if they did such a thing, which I haven't heard much about his. It just came out this week. But you kind of hope that, and you don't know what kind of casualties there's going to be. You know, what careers are not going to be in Hollywood anymore. Because, but my thing is, you know, it shouldn't matter. If someone I like gets outed, will I be disappointed? Yes. Will I be kind of sad? Yes, because I admire people in movies. I admire acting. I admire the ability to be able to transform yourself into something else and entertain with it. But if you've done something that is disturbing and wrong, I would sacrifice my love for your work just to get you out of movies and to get you out of entertainment. You know, nobody's perfect, but I mean, I would rather someone just be cool and just be a good person and entertain me and not be the best actor than have the greatest actor in the world doing stuff to somebody because they feel like they can, because they're in a position of power. So I'm hoping that this whole thing just keeps going, that the right people get booted out and get called out, because I would rather admire these people for being good people and not have them have these dark secrets of, you know, things they've done come out, and I've admired them for, say, 20 years or something like that. It just bothers me. So hopefully the truth will prevail and we can just get to a point where everyone can be just the best people that they should be, and we should not have to worry about this stuff anymore. Now, on a much lighter note, a few of the movies I checked out this weekend. First was Murder on the Orient Express. I will be working on a full review for this, but my general consensus of this movie is that it wasn't exactly what I hoped it would be, but I still found it entertaining enough that I would recommend it. For a movie that's about murder, I'm not going to say it's bright and cheery, but, you know, it's not a real dark movie. And honestly, I think that if it were dark, that would really hurt it. Because I don't think this needed to be, I don't know why I think it would really bother it, because it would really mess with it, because I think having it somewhat a little more lighthearted just kind of helped you enjoy the characters. And with the way things turned out, and I won't spoil it, I think if it went too dark, I think it would hurt the way you feel about certain things at the end. I think it would hurt just the overall tone of the movie. And, you know, if you like a good whodunit, it's not a bad movie. Kenneth Branagh and really the entire cast is fine. I liked them. The performances are a little hammy, but it fits. When you see the movie, it kind of fits. It's not going to be for everybody, and from what I'm hearing, I was talking with someone that loves the character of Poirot, and they said they changed the character completely. So I think it might bother fans of the character, which that's kind of a problem considering the fact it's an adaptation of a book. But, you know, for me, it was a good movie. I enjoyed it. I would recommend it. I wouldn't say rush to the theater to see it. That being said, it's a beautiful movie to see on the screen. But anyway, it's That's how I felt about Murder on the Orient Express. And Daddy's Home 2. Daddy's Home 2. Not a lot of people are going to like to hear this, but if Mel Gibson weren't in this movie, it probably would not have been as good. A lot of what kept me in this one is his snarky comments to situations. So yeah, I think if you like the first one, you'll think this one's fine. I had to look up what I thought of the first one because it was that kind of unmemorable for me. And I remember thinking that I didn't like it, but I was just like, I get my review. I said I kind of had a good time. I think your enjoyment of this movie probably depends on what you think of Will Ferrell. If you really love Will Ferrell, you'll probably dig this movie. Granted, it's not as Will Ferrell heavy as, say, The House, which is, for me, a good thing because The House was awful. But if you're over Will Ferrell or you think Will Ferrell is the next Adam Sandler, then you're going to hate this movie. There's probably some enjoyment to be had. It's not the worst movie I've seen. It's not the worst Will Ferrell movie I've seen. But, I mean, for me, the shtick was old, so it didn't do much for me. It definitely bears a lot of similarities to Bad Moms Christmas. I mean, down to the countdown, down to part of the ending. So, I like the Bad Moms movies better. A lot of people disagree with me with that, and I could totally understand that. But yeah, Daddy's Home 2. If you're looking for a lot of John Cena, he's not in this one a ton either. He just kind of shows up. It's just, the funniest thing is there's a movie within this movie that I think I rather would have watched, and I won't spoil it because if you are going to watch it, it's really funny. That's like the funny part of the movie. And it's near the end, so I don't want to mess with it for anybody. So yeah, that's Daddy's Home 2. I also had a chance to check out Marshall. When it comes to this movie, it's Chadwick Boseman playing yet again another famous character. He likes doing these biopics. It's Jackie Robinson. Then he did James Brown, and then now Thurgood Marshall. I like this movie, but it was definitely a safe movie dealing with topics such as racism, bigotry, stereotyping, which in a way kind of bothered me. I mean, yeah, they kept it safe and kept it. I mean, if you were going to show, the younger the person you're going to show a movie like this might be a safe route to go. But I mean, when a movie that is trying to buck stereotypes is full of stereotypes, I'm not going to say it negates the whole purpose of the movie, but it's just kind of like, come on. I mean, because you've got, Thurgood Marshall, he's the strong African American. You've got Josh Gad, who's the, he's the typical Jewish lawyer. You've got the prosecutor, who's the racist white guy. It just how that movie went. And like I said, the movie's fine. I liked it. I liked the performances. They do try to make it a little serious here and there, but honestly, a lot of it felt very, very Matlock to me, or something like that. Because I mean, for as serious as the charges were, I mean, it's about the possibility that an African American worker raped his employer. It's a little lighthearted. It's safe enough though. It's not a bad movie. It's just too little safe. It was safe, kind of like Boseman's Jackie Robinson movie, except they did drop the N-word a lot in that one scene, but it's a very safe way to show someone this story. Next week, I will be seeing Justice League a little bit early. I'm seeing it on Tuesday. I should be dropping my review on Wednesday next week. So if you want to check out what I thought of Justice League, I will be seeing it early. I'm pretty excited about it. I'm excited to see what happens when you restrict this many characters to under 2 hours. I guess Warner Brothers had a thing about these characters or about these movies being a little shorter, probably so they can fit more movie times and make more money. So, and also I'm curious to see how a movie that, started with one director and ended with another goes. So, the movie started with Zack Snyder and Joss Whedon took over. So, I'm curious to see how that turned out. So anyway, that's all I've got for this week. This has been Get on the Mic. I hope you've enjoyed it. Let me know what you think of this program, and let me know if there's anything you want me to talk about. If you got some good news stories from the week, and I'll take a look at them. I'd really like to know what you think of this format. It's just something I wanted to try, and I hope you've enjoyed it. This has been Gino Reynolds from The Real Gino. See you later.